Bureau of Land Management released its roundup schedule for 2024, and it called for the removal of over 8,000 wild horses.
Hey guys, this is going to be a totally different video for me. I had this guy come up in my For You feed last night, and I scrolled past him, but I stayed awake last night thinking about it and knew that I had to address this. So after these opening remarks about the BLM changing their forecasted gatherings in 2024 from around 8,900 to almost 21,000 horses being gathered, he goes on to, and I'm going to read this from my notes so that I don't miss and I stay on track, but he goes on to lament that we don't know how many of our beloved wild horses will enter the slaughter pipeline. So let's give some facts. It is illegal to sell wild horses to a slaughter facility or for bucking stock. Look up the adoption process. You have to certify under perjury that you won't do that. You can adopt a wild horse relatively inexpensively, but there is a lot of criteria that has to be met before you can bring it home and after you get it home. First of all, for the facility for an already gentled horse has to be at least 5 foot tall, has to be at least 400 square feet, and can only be built out of specified materials. An ungentled animal has to have a 6-foot enclosure that is at least 400 square feet with specified materials, as well as both types have to have adequate shelter that varies a little bit from region to region as to what it has to be. Transportation to get your new wild horse home has to be approved. Only after having this horse for 1 year can you apply to get a certificate of title for it. That means having a qualified person come out and visually inspect the animal and where it lives to certify that it's being taken care of and it's in good condition. Then you get a certificate of title. I did find an interesting caveat to this, and that was that when a horse is purchased through the sale program, they're given a bill of sale and retain immediate ownership. Not quite sure how that works or what the difference is between the bill of sale and the certificate of title. It's after all of this process that you find these horses in the slaughter pipeline. Usually because the adopters have bit off more than they can chew, and they realize that they have no clue how to move forward with these animals. He then talks about the number of horses killed during BLM roundups, transportation, and holding. So the BLM invites anyone interested to come and view the gatherings. They also put all of the death numbers right in their reports. Those reports are all public information. I read the report on the latest gather in Nevada, where almost 900 horses were gathered and 8 died. 2 of those were from injuries sustained during the gathering. The other 6 were considered chronic, which I would assume means either they starved to death, they died of old age, or they had some kind of a disease. That is less than it's just a percentage of 1% of the gather. He then shouts from the rooftops that wild horses don't cost the taxpayer anything until they're gathered, which is true. But I can testify to the devastating cost to the environment and to the horses themselves from overpopulation. Horses have very few natural predators, and in Nevada, their only natural predator is mountain lions. So, left free to roam, they die horrible deaths of starvation, thirst, disease, and of course, old age. He then outlines how only greedy, evil welfare ranchers, helicopter contractors, and kill buyers profit from these gathers, Well, first of all, if it weren't for the ranchers, we wouldn't even have any wild horses. But you can look more up on that in the video that I did live on Facebook last week. He says that welfare ranchers in the West only pay $1.35 for their cattle to graze the range. This is a twisted half-truth. Range rights have to be purchased from individuals because the government doesn't give them out anymore. They have to be purchased at a market value. And that does not guarantee that they'll be able to use them, because when they're transferred, the BLM quite often takes them away. Then that $1.35 AUM, it's not a 1-to-1 ratio. One cow does not cost $1.35. In the state of Nevada, it might take 20 AUMs to support one cow. Secondly, in the arid West, especially in Nevada, water is scarce. And the majority of the water sources, not only for the cattle, but the wild horses and the wildlife, are developed and paid for, including continued maintenance, by those ranchers. I can't speak to the contractors hired to do the gathers. I'm sure they make great money, because there's only a few that are even allowed to bid on doing it. And lastly, the kill buyers. Kill buyers buy unwanted, unpurchased animals and haul them to slaughter. I don't know what the profit margins are, but what a lousy job it must be. My hope with this stitch is to educate people that there is more to this story, and the propaganda and the sensationalism put out there by people who mean well but don't put out real facts, in the end only harms the horses we would all like to see cared for in a better and more effective way. Do your research. Seek out facts.